I've heard some foster parents, even during the pandemic when we had, it's more online therapy sessions and the misconception that it doesn't work. I believe that you have to give things time in order to manifest. And I also heard this from a school social worker who said sometimes people use therapists and school social workers as the disciplinarian because the first thing they hear is, I'm gonna call you a therapist when a child may do something. And you and Mark can probably talk a little more about that, using your therapist as a disciplinarian as opposed to being a therapist and helping that child get the help they need.
Yeah, I can tell you that I've heard the same thing, Ron, and I've actually experienced it. And I've had to address, the foster parent at the time in regards to that because the therapist is not there to disciplinarian, right? But they're there to assist and to help. And so, we always got to look at the end goal and where we're trying to go and where we're trying to be. Because actually, the therapist, if somebody's in therapy, the person who's in therapy, that's the client. That right. So that's the end goal, right?
Right.
You really have to focus on them and what they want in that session and what they would want to, to improve on or wherever or whatever reason why they are there. So sometimes, it's good to have input from the outside because you look at all sources. But I always tell people, if you're there, then, you kind of have to just focus on the individual in front of you. And so that's how I always kind of looked at it from a standpoint. But I have heard that. Now I know many people may look at it a little differently, but for me, when you're in that arena or in that space, you have to be very careful not to damage that therapeutic relationship.
Right, right. And I think therapy is something that, we all can use at some point in our life. And I don't think there should be any stigmas against therapy. I think a lot of foster parents should have access to professional therapy and counselors because there's going to be times when we struggle as well. And I often tell foster parents that, my air conditioning unit breaks down in the summertime. I'm not an AC guy. I'm going to call the expert. When my child has a toothache, I'm not going to tie a string to it to the doorknob and shut the door to the tooth fall out. I'm going to go to the dentist.
That's
Same
right.
thing when we're struggling. When we're struggling, there are experts out there who are taught these skills and they're expert in those fields to help us during times of struggle. So if we're struggling in life, whatever it might be, depression or secondary traumatic stress or whatever it might be, it's okay to call and say, I need help. I need help.